I see Sal is viciously looking at his notes. You're like doing the look down thing. I'm just like, this is the dirt I've got on Dan today.
It's all my notes on how the Heians are superior to all other versions of Pinan-Pyung-Heians or what have you.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Dan, I know, has translated at least 5 texts before this,
Uh,
and I, like in good fashion, am well not prepared for this. Literally, wait, come on, coffee cup, get on screen.
your coffee cup is the wrong color.
No, it's the right color. And it says mug.
Mug.
So okay, I should probably introduce. Should I
Actually,
introduce the show?
I forgot my coffee in the microwave, so you go do that. I'm going to be right back.
All right, literally, we're not even like a minute into recording this thing, and Dan has has vacated the premises. Sal, introduce the show.
Dan has stormed out.
Dan is stormed out.
He is taking a stance on this argument by not arguing.
I guess.
All right.
But is that I don't know what kind of stance that is. Like it's like absentee, like I'm protesting in absence. It's like when someone's like, these people are doing the wrong things. I'm gonna walk away. Wait a minute. Hold on. I don't think that's actually fixing the situation.
What are we talking about now?
I don't know. Politics. That's what anybody talks about on the internet, right?
Not me. I try as hard as I can. Stay away from that.
I think we're Flip. We need to. Do we need to introduce the show? Hi, folks. This is post training. All right, there I did it. Give some sort of like flipping context of what we're doing. We have the boys back. We have Sal and Dan in the same room ish. One is live via satellite from Aurora Borealis. The other one is hiding in the woods, avoiding the IRS.
Live from Yellowstone, yeah.
From Yellow. Oh, okay. All right. They can still find you with them IRS boats.
Yep.
I'm here in the kanji void, so I like to think that's where I am. But folks, Sal, Dan, welcome back. How are you guys been?
Doing great.
Yeah. It is Saturday. I am excited about today.
Really? Is that is the worst line read of excitement I've ever heard. I
am tired. Saturday, so like I do most of my work in the middle of the night. So like I go to sleep at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. But Saturdays, for some weird reason, I have decided that I'm going to have an 8:30 a.m. class. And so I get up super early Saturday mornings, and I am tired every Saturday evening. I'm exhausted. But it's such a good class in the morning. It's like a sparring class, and I've got a good group that come and train, and I love it too much to get rid of it. So I'll never get rid of it. I just will complain that I'm tired.
That's why God invented coffee. Cool.
That's right.
Cool.
I've been doing a 6 a.m. class on Wednesdays for the last year, and yeah, I can't say we're awake enough to do any kind of sparring in that class, but it's more of a gentle karate class.
That's early. Gosh.
Yep.
Like some people are early people. I am not. I've tried. I am just not an early person.
That's when I'm firing all cylinders. I'm up at 5 a.m. every day, and that's when I can be productive, get stuff done. Once it hits about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, my brain functionality just starts going way downhill. Yeah.
That's the way my wife is. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. She's up at 4:30 every morning, 5 o'clock, probably at the latest. And I've just been in bed for a couple hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we're not going to pry too much into that. But what we are going to pry into, well, so Sal, recently I saw like as of like 3 hours ago, you had and you had very good music behind it, a very decent swing video on with Mace.
Yeah. Yeah, that was from just a clip from some stuff we were working on in our steel mace class this morning. It was a rare opportunity where we had because there's so much snow out, it was a much smaller class than we normally have, and the two people that did come in were some of the more experienced students that I have, and so we were able to dip our toes into some more advanced techniques, and that was fun. Not something we get to do very often.
Cool. So on both your ends, it's been a fun, advanced yet tiring sparring class, and a rare opportunity to get some other mace work done.
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's awesome.
How's your day been?
I mean, it's Sunday for me, so I just like woke up.
How was your Saturday?
Terrifying. Because it was snowing, probably like it's snowing where Sal's at. But like I live in the mountains, so moisture kind of condenses, so it's much worse when it snows in the mountains. And I had to drive an hour and like some odd minutes to get a 10-minute car check. I went to the car place, like this is company car, so the company told me to do this. And if this company is watching this, I'm just telling you what happened, so you're hearing it live. Not live, because we don't do that anymore. But took an hour some odd amount of time to get a 10-minute car check. Literally walked in. I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm here with the car from the company. Can you check it, please? And thank you." They're like, "Okay, please have some coffee and wait." And I was like, "Oh, thank you." I got the coffee out of a machine that they like jerry-rigged so you don't have to pay for it. They just like pops out a cup for you, which is cool. And then I sat down. I got on my social medias as I always do. That like anytime I have to wait, that's Twitter time. I normally don't like get on Twitter, but any other time that I'm like, oh man, I have got to wait, I'm gonna get on Twitter. Apparently, a buddy of mine, Raul, who was on our last podcast, went to town on Facebook, so I was like watching that with like I would really want to eat popcorn. And then after when I was just like, haha, stupid meme, they were just like, hey, your car's done. I was like, I wasn't sitting down but 10 minutes. I'm not even done my coffee. Like, yeah, it's fine. Would you like some beans? And I was like, no, thank you, car company. And I drove off. And I was like, wow. And I like nearly died 3 times because the snow was tires just went, and we're going to stop working now. I'm like, is this really okay? I don't know.
Wait. Beans?
yeah.
My man. So like, by the way, I think we should all say happy Lunar New Year or thereabouts.
Yeah.
Happy Tiger Year to all those celebrating.
Happy Tiger Year. Happy Tiger Year. Happy Imbolc. Happy. What else? What else is it? St. Bridget's Day was a couple days ago.
Dan's just going down the calendar.
What else?
Well, yeah, so in Japan.
So how do you say it in Korean? So, Sehe Pakmani Patu Shipsio would be like saying, that'd be like formal Happy New Year. Standard would be probably something like Sehe Pakmani Padaseo. It would be Happy New Year in Korean.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, Japan doesn't really follow it like the Lunar New Year too much, but around the same time or around this time in February they have the like kids throwing beans out the door at demons. I know this because one year I dressed up as the demon, so
Gotcha.
threw beans at me. It was fun. Sal's just looking at me like, what is this guy going on about? We're here to talk about Pinan. He's talking about dressing up like a demon and having beans thrown at him.
Listen, when you do the Pinan correctly, you become a demon and get thrown
That's
in
what's supposed to happen.
See, this is why the Heian are inferior, because you do not become a demon. See,
The Heian are all about peace and love, man. I mean, it's a peaceful mind. And, once you got them all down, you got nothing to worry about. Funakoshi tells you that. He's like, yeah, once you get all 5 of these down, you have the peace of mind that you can handle anything life's going to throw at you. So, yeah, Pinan's.
even if you're driving your car in the middle of the snow.
Yeah, the peace and peace and tranquility of nearly crashing in snow fog. But I think we've been stoking this debate for like 3 months now, something like that, and we just haven't been able to make it work until today. So
It's a good discussion.
I mean, we could discuss it. We could just go off topic and just say, "Hey, we talked about it just now." But I mean, I'm interested to know because from my experience, I kind of went from a more eclectical, quote unquote, eclectical background, and kind of like went into more traditional Okinawan karate as I got older. True story. I learned all the pinans in one day.
Mm.
Yeah, I went in 2006. I was done karate for like 5 years. I was 18. I graduated high school 2 days prior, and I flew out to this like summer camp or whatever, and they were like, "We're gonna learn the pinans today." I'm like, "Okay, let's do it." I learned them all in one day.
But did
I
you
already-
retain them?
Yes, because I practiced them when I got home.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Not many people can do that. Yeah. There's some people you can show them a kata once and they've got it down. You never have to show them the moves again. And, other people take more time. So that's impressive.
Well, I was 18, so I think like the sponginess of the brain was like at like maximum like spongitude.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's also like the patterns of them are. But it's also because I was 18 and recently graduated high school. So as me and Dan had once discussed, it was just for kids. So of course a kid could learn it. Possibly
Even
harder for adults. It's like learning a language maybe. So that's my experience with the pinans, and I've like gone back and forth on whether or not on how important they are. That's just been my experience. I'd like to hear your guys' experience on your respective versions of these oddly debated, slightly important, possibly unnecessary kata.
Ooh, unnecessary. Oh, that's
Possibly.
awesome. Ooh.
Because this
Possibly.
is that. That's not me saying that. That's a lot of other people.
Sure. Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, that's definitely something you hear a lot where they say like, why bother? Just learn Kankudai. I mean, why do you need to learn all of the Pinans or Heians when you can just learn Kankudai and that has everything you need in it because it's the same stuff. I don't really adhere to one particular conspiracy or another. I was exposed to what was called Pinan kata very, very early in my training. Because before I got into karate, I did Kenpo. And this was like an offshoot of like Nick Serio Kenpo, kind of like American Kenpo type stuff. And they only taught 3 of them and they called them the Pinan kata. And at that time, I knew nothing. So I didn't know there was a Heian katas out there. It was just, this is my only sort of exposure to Pinan kata at that time. So I thought that was it. And it wasn't until much later in my martial arts journey that, I saw like, okay, what they were teaching me was absolutely nothing like Pinan kata. It was like they said, well, we're going to just take it, just because these movements follow like this big letter H or I pattern, we're going to call them Pinans. But I mean, I can't really remember what theirs look like, but they don't even resemble anything like what you would see as a Pinan kata or Heian kata. It was just like, all right, we're going to take this shape, this embusen, and do whatever movements we want in there and call them our Pinans. It wasn't until later I got into like Shotokan karate and I started learning the Heians and then started learning more history and seeing, okay, where these sort of things come from, that I could sort of see the bigger picture around sort of their purpose and sort of the relationship and tying them back to Okinawan karate.
Yeah, I mean, I think. Yeah, Dan, go ahead.
Yeah, I came into that realization not too long ago. I have a really good friend who he's sort of a student. I don't teach him karate. He's a Kenpo guy, but same. He was like, we have these Pinan kata. And I'm like, oh sweet, I know those. I can help you with those. He's like, awesome. And we got together and no, I don't know these. These are not. Originally I went, these are not the Pinan forms. I don't know what you're doing. Whoever made these up didn't know the Pinan forms. But then I came to the realization, much probably like you did, that they're just, the name is just a coincidence.
Yeah.
They were, yeah. So, I mean, not that there's anything wrong with those Pinan forms. They're completely different. I mean, Anko and Toso had nothing to do with them. Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I think that's like, you know what? Now that I think about it, it's weird. The same summer where I learned the Pinyans, there is when I used to do Modern Arnis, it was like the summer of camps for whatever reason for me. It was right before I went to college. Went to a Modern Arnis camp, and they essentially had a stick and empty hand version of like Pinyan looking type stuff. Now, the stick forms and stuff were very, very different, but like their empty hand stuff were essentially like, okay, let's open the hands and essentially do the Pinyans. Like it was like they were like, look, we have this too, and
yeah, that's always been one of my pet peeves. I don't get like on my high horse about much when it comes to karate because I'm pretty laid back, but when I see systems that they take weapons and they insert them into empty-handed kata like that, and they say, look, we do weapons. I'm like, well, I mean, yeah, you kind of do, but not really. Those aren't weapon kata. You could.
Weapons in my system all the time. We do a dagger form. We do a low block with a dagger, and then we stab you with the dagger. And it's like, wait, this is not how you use the weapon.
Yeah.
What's interesting is that this was the inverse. That this was, I mean, modern Arnis it's all sticks, right? It's all like, and they have like empty hand stuff. But then they essentially took a version of the Heian Pinyans and put them into there, right? So like they didn't really like try to make like stick Pinyan. Like there was stick forms and stuff, but it wasn't like didn't remotely look like anything like that.
Gotcha.
Anything like the Pinyans, nothing like I guess there's a pattern, but it's not necessarily an IRH pattern. But then like they had an empty hand version of a kata that effectively was like a Pinyan type kata.
Interesting.
So Modern Arnis people, I'm gonna have one on here at some point in the next month or so. So I'll be able to interrogate them there.
I know that when we talk about the Kempo thing, I'm pretty sure like if you look at, I'm going to say this, and I'm probably going to either be right or wrong, and somebody will say, I'm pretty sure like if you look at Ed Parker's first books when he first started teaching, he taught the Pinan forms.
Is that the one that's like the secret of Chinese fighting or China hand or something like that?
Something like that. I got
a copy of that book. Yeah, I'd have to look at it.
Yeah, because I think he was essentially, I mean, that was his base before he decided to spin off and do his own thing. So that framework, I guess, continued and it's still there.
Well, and I think that's what's interesting about all of this is that we've got three different guys, quote unquote, three different styles, and just essentially the same thing, but it's been varied. Like I think this is kind of the story of kata itself, right? How like it, even though we do different stuff, but then it's like we have this for like Nahachi kata don't get the same kind of treatment that Pinyans do. Like don't have the same sort of like argument about Pinyans. Right, like the Kanku, the Kusanku katas, the Pasai katas, the Seisan, all that stuff doesn't get the same like treatment of like, it's just for kids. You don't need that. Like this is a side thing, or this isn't something we need, or there's too many kata, or something like that. And I've been on both sides of this debate mostly because like now I'm like, yeah, they're okay to learn. Like if we're good with teaching, like especially I think. With their place with kids, I think is good. I think that's actually a better place to start than where I start with Nahachis with a lot of people. But at the same time, I can see why people don't want to do that because they kind of give the wrong image of karate in general.
Sure.
Of the look left, attack here. Look right, attack here. Go behind you, attack there. Go in front, attack there. Then you're going to attack three people and then go around. It's like.
But that's Kusanku. That's the beginning of Kusanku. So if you don't like that, then you don't like Kusanku.
So, I guess I could,
right?
Yeah. Well, you don't like forms then. And so,
Right?
welcome to the Joe Rogan experience.
Well, I mean, what I was going to say, I mean, it also depends on. I have found that for the people on the side of the argument that say, well, they're for kids or they're too fundamental or something. It really depends on what you're doing with them, right? I mean, if you're not getting into any kind of practical application of the Heian kata, if you're not actually exploring the bonkai and sort of what you can actually be doing with them to see that they are very functional in terms of self-defense, then yeah, I can definitely see where you may not get that kind of you might not see the value out of them immediately. But if you can shift your perspective and start actually breaking down the movements, even in just Heian Shodan, I guess that's another question that we could address is your Heian Shodan, Heian Nidan, are your Pinan Shodan and Pinan Nidan, are they flipped?
So our system did follow Funakoshi's order. So our second one is the first one.
Okay, we're the other way around. Yeah, so that's our second one here.
Right, that's our second one. So
okay,
we follow
we
follow Funakoshi's. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, we're on the same page.
I'm an Itosu man myself, but
it's all Itosu.
Or not. I don't know. I know that. I mean, here's
for me.
Here's my problem. Oh, go ahead, Dan.
No, go ahead. You have a problem.
Ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Problems are much
You're
more
important. Handsome than I am. Go ahead.
When we talk about Itosu, and we think about karate as an education system, like this is where for me the Pyongan forms have a place, and a good place, because they are essentially a progressive education tool or a progressive curriculum tool, and it's great for people who don't know anything, to get them to progress. And for us, it takes about 2 years to get through all of the Pyongan forms and have a pretty good functional understanding of it before they start to do Kasai and Naihachi. And at that point, and this may be a personal perspective of my own, but at that point, I have a pretty good idea whether or not the student is going to continue. So like the Pyongan forms for me is like an introductory tool that will tell me whether or not this person will continue to learn Kasai and Naihanchi and then later, or if they're going to quit. And if they quit, just knowing the Pyongan forms, I'm fine with that. But I think that's why they're so popular, is because most people quit after they know all the Pyongan forms. And so like those are the main forms that everybody learns, everybody's done. But again, they're introductory. And it's kind of like at that point, like in the past, we all talked about like, you had to prove yourself to become a student. Right? So like for me, whether it's true or not in the past, for me, that the Pyongan forms effectively do that for me. If I have somebody who stays and they want and they stay and they're now learning Pasai, I know that they're going to stick around for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think Itosu was brilliant in the way that he did that. Like whether that was his intention or not, right? Like I don't care if his real intention was just to teach and introduce karate to kids. Like I firmly believe that was the original intention. Like I believe Motobu, right? Motobu, that's what Motobu said. I believe Motobu, but that doesn't mean that they can't have other purposes, whether or not that was the intent, the original intent or not. For me, it's a great introductory tool for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, that goes into saying like the only reason I kind of gave that look is like people had to prove themselves. I'm like, when? So like in the 50s or in the 80s? Because the 80s was about like that money and the white powder. But like in the 50s, I think it was like prior to that, and I think we're kind of maybe hopefully circling back around is I think in your idea that that's the proof of like somebody is like worthy to keep going. I think to a degree there's a lot of value in saying do this, and the person
Mhm.
doesn't want to do it, all right, you're not right for here.
Yeah, I mean, if you're bored out of your mind with the Pyongyang forms, this isn't right for you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and that's fine. Like, I mean, I am definitely not the guy who's going to say, I think everybody should do karate. Everybody should do karate. I don't believe that at all.
Hmm.
I think
Yeah,
that there
I
are,
would agree with that. Yeah, I would agree with that.
and so I don't have an issue weeding people out.
Definitely.
And I think the Pyongyang forms do a great job at it.
And I think,
Yeah,
like,
and I agree that I think they cover your bases. I think, as you said, Dan, you know, if that's all they get to, then great. You know, it's enough in many respects. Like, if that's all they have, if they just kept studying those 5, you know, and never learned another kata, you know, I do believe that they have the tools in there to address most of what, you know, the average person might expect to encounter in a violent situation. You know, they say Han Sandan is all about someone coming in and tackling, trying to do like an open bear hug tackle or something like that, and it has responses to that. And Nidan is more about right-handed attacks and shoves and things like, and those sorts of attacks. And, you know, they get progressively more methods for addressing typical acts of violence. Yeah.
that's interesting. So I've never heard anybody mention it in terms of that, and that these forms have very, very specific application intents. I've heard.
Yeah, I think,
Go
you know, like older rendition. I mean, I don't know. I think that's probably more of a modern take on it from a lot of guys, yeah, who are now like, you know, trying to take it apart and reverse engineer them.
Mm-hmm.
I love looking at Hiroshi Kinjo's kumikata, and the way that he applies them. They're very simple, very basic. I really enjoy his kumikata. If you haven't seen them, he has a DVD, which is incredible. I actually.
He's gonna whip out the DVD.
Who has DVD players anymore?
I'm gonna whip out the DVD, man.
Don't do it.
No, I can't find it right away. But if you, I mean, you guys know who Hiroshi Kinjo is.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
I mean, like, so he was
Inform the audience, Jan. Who is Hiroshi?
He was one of Patrick. He teaches Itosu karate, and he's. I think most people know him as a historian, but his he has kumikata for every single one of the forms. One of Itosu.
Are they? No, I haven't seen those, and I'd be interested in seeing them, Dan. Are they kind of similar in respect to like Motobuchoki's 2-person drills? I think he has like 10 of them, maybe.
No, because those are specifically 2-person drills. These are 2-person drills, but they follow the kata.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Is that an application sense, or like in terms of like literally going 1, this is where it goes, 2, this is where it goes, 3?
Like you know, like when you like when you see, you know, spear hands, this is an arm bar, right? In Pasai, where you go 1, 2, right? This is a block and a block and a punch at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Like I mean, it's really, I mean, like they're mostly really simple. One technique to one technique defenses. Gotcha. They're not complicated.
Yeah.
Like I know a lot of McCarthy's stuff is real complicated and intricate, and like, you know, goes through this big flow drill.
Right.
Hiroshi Kinjo's stuff is not that. It is very, very simple and straightforward. The chasing punches in the forms are, you know, really quick. You know, the punch goes really fast. The punch lands before the front foot. You know, like simple things like in Naihanchi, when you go 1, 2, this is a finger flick to the eyes, gets them to do this, and then as they punch, you elbow you elbow their elbow. Like really, really basic good stuff. And something that I found is a lot of the applications that he uses, I see in Chinese arts. So there's a lot of crossover there. Yeah, I mean, I would highly recommend that DVD. I'll find it somewhere and share it with you guys.
We're not sponsored by Hiroshi Genjo. Just letting you
No.
know. This is not-
No, and rest in peace. I think he's passed.
He has, yeah. I can't remember when, but yeah, he has.
But
I hate to say that
I
I
mean,
didn't know about him, but because it's just like unfortunately, like Dan has this like Dan and Sal both have this like well of knowledge that I just don't. Like I'm just like this dirtbag kid who's like, yeah, I do karate, and then these two are just like, you don't know anything, and will break it down for me pretty well.
that is not true, but
not true. You are you both are a very handsome well of knowledge. I am the ugly dirtbag who can't get out of a gray
Mine
head.
is declining. Mine's declining. There was a period of my training where I was like voraciously consuming as much like reading and media material as I could on martial arts, and my bookshelves are just overflowing with different stuff, but it's not something I go out and look for as much anymore. I focus more just on my own practice. So I still have to go back and like myself in books because I know a lot of the stuff that I remember is not as accurate, and information has changed, and we're learning more about stuff. So yeah, I need to do better. Dan is definitely on top of his game with his history and such more than I am.
Sal, no one's holding you accountable. Don't worry. This is not the accountability. This is not.
Oh,
the
thank God.
accountability.
There's not going to be a test at the end of this.
No.
Okay,
No, but I think there's something to be said about that because I think it kind of like wraps around back to the Pinyans or the Heian or the Pyongs or however we want to call them, because I think to a degree that is all kind of going in a circle of like people like consume a lot of knowledge, get a lot of knowledge, put it all together, and then just kind of have that version of the knowledge, right?
Mhm.
And you can go back and like look at all those books and stuff like that, and that can kind of remind you of stuff, and maybe, oh wait, I forgot about this. But I think to a degree, like for better or for worse, I think that's where we are at with the Pinyans, where it's like any other kata, they're just like the amalgamation of what Itozu, Funakoshi, whoever
Right.
put it together. So my always issue has been with the Heian is that the Heian Shodan starts out very unevenly. It starts out doing this.
Oh, yeah, you
you
get
hand
that.
out
Yeah.
and then you punch, and then in the Pinan Nidan, no, we have the down block. Then you do this little guy. Then you punch. Then you do it on the other side. It's completely symmetrical.
Yeah.
From a completely symmetrical kata. And then for some reason, Funakoshi was like, nah, we're just not going to do that one. We're just not going to have that down block. Don't need it. Don't want it. Just going to start from here in this awkward position that a lot of people don't really understand. And then we're going to do the down block on the other side.
Well, it's even worse if I don't teach this kata as much as I used to. I've sort of gradually gotten it out of the curriculum, but take Yoku Shodan, which is very symmetrical, down block, 3 punches, and then repeats. I mean, it's a mirror image of itself. That used to be the very first kata that we teach. And I don't really do that anymore. I just start them off with Heian Shodan because I'm like, let's just get straight to the chase here. Heian Shodan. And so I was working with a student. Actually, no, one of my senior students was working with a brand new student the other day and walking them through a Heian Shodan. And they brought up that exact, wait, I don't do a hammer fist on this side too? Like, no, you don't. It's like, it's not, sorry. It doesn't work that way. It's blew their mind. Like, what? This is messing with me. I can't figure this out.
I'm not going to comment further on that. I'm just going to point out the irregularity and allow everyone to kind of read between the lines.
Sure.
But what is it? No, Sal, it's funny you mentioned that because that was the first kata that I learned. Yeah, like way back in the day when I was a kid.
Yeah, it was for me too. Yeah, and I know there are some systems out there that even do a second and third, like there's Teikyoku Nidan.
We have 3.
Really?
And we call them the Gicho Hyun. Gicho just means like basic, like Kyoan almost, right?
Yeah.
So ours are almost identical. Hwangi just kind of like tweaked little things here and there to change them up a little bit, but they're pretty much the exact same. I teach them only for footwork. Like,
Okay, interesting.
brand spanking new white belt. I mean, we're looking at just footwork
Yeah.
because there's a lot of Tai Chi principles in our system. So like the ability to unload the left leg and load the right leg, and then flip the hip backwards and push out, and then like, you know, violently like rotate that back foot to turn your hip around, and like all that jazz. Stealing center when you go back in the other direction. There's a lot of really intricate little subtle footwork things that I teach.
Starts laying that foundation that they'll need for everything else, it sounds like.
Right, precisely. And footwork is the most difficult thing to teach.
Right.
And that's why I think it's the most important thing to teach first. So that's the primary thing that I use it for. I don't really care what they do with their hands. They could punch in the wrong position. I don't really care at that point.
Yeah.
As long as they get their feet moving, because how many times do you see like people walk through these forms and they take these little stutter steps?
Yeah.
And they stutter step to walk, and then they stutter step to walk. Like, this is, you know, I see 8th degree black belts do that sometimes. Right? I mean, it's like, maybe we need to go back and look at some fundamentals.
That's huge. That's something I look at right away. Like if I'm watching someone do a kata, and you know, if they're whatever rank they are, I mean, I'm looking at their body dynamics. How are they moving? You know, are they taking, you know, are they turning their foot out first before they move, or are they moving straight from center, you know, engaging their inner thighs and moving from their center? If I don't see that, I'm like, I mean, you might be really good, maybe you are, but those things are just important to me. I don't know why, but they're important to you know, making your art functional. So you got to have them in there. So I think that's cool that you start that first. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what, you know, since we've talked about the Heian and Pinan as sort of the differences, one of the things I've always appreciated about the Pinan kata, and I actually talk about the Pinans a lot when I'm teaching, even though I don't teach them, but I appreciate the fact that there's more cat stances. They're shorter stances. They're more natural stances in the Pinan kata. And, you know, I find myself often telling my students about, you know, why Shotokan has some deeper stances than, you know, what you might find in Okinawan karate. You know, it's all about the fitness and health and making sure you end up being, you know, good and strong so you can, you know, be a soldier when you're done with all of this. And that's where a lot of that comes from. But, you know, in reality, when you're this close and you're grappling with someone, it's a violent situation. You're not going to be in the deep, you know, front stance. The front stance that in Shotokan is just teaching you how to project your body weight forward so that you can actually move somebody if you need to, but you're not going to fight from that posture.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Gives us a great difference between where we have the forms and where the forms depart, where you depart from the forms into footwork.
Absolutely.
Which I think is exactly where you guys were just pointing out. Like, people don't know how to necessarily mix that together, so you get a lot of like 1-to-1. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it's like 1-to-1 bunkai, like application to like technique to kata matches, but how you start, how you finish, what position that comes from isn't always matched there. It's interesting you guys bring up the takyukas, because I learned like 5 of them, because I don't know who made up 5 of them, but then, you know, what I do now has like a exercise called left behind, which is essentially like just like the beginning stances of the Heian Pinan-Pyung katas, basically in cat, and learning how to rotate around all that. So it's always your left foot is going behind, and it's left foot, or your left foot's behind, your left foot, or your left foot's behind. Between like cat and forward stance. And I think because we just teach the Nahachis at first, and we don't even have anything moving forward until much later on, because the peons end up in the middle of the system rather than in the beginning, which leads to a debate whether or not they should be there or not. But I think like that was the only way to actually put that in there, and then to show like, oh yeah, this is also vital technique, you know, connective footwork tissue. So I guess that begs the question: are the pinions really helpful to getting that kind of at least basic footwork technique, or do you need something else in there in order to get that?
So, well, do me a favor. Go back and tell me about this footwork again.
Well, I mean, like more like So you're shifting from one side to another, right? Every time you
Like,
do something,
like going from here to here without moving your feet, just switching.
or yeah, you're just switching your body shifting, your weight shifting, you're kind of doing whatever, right?
Mhm.
Left, right, or right, left, however you want to call it.
Mhm.
Are this set of 5
Like-
katas?
Like when you go 1 and 2,
Yes.
it's just a shift of the weight.
Yeah.
That's
and-
Sadan. That's the fourth one.
yes. So
Right.
in doing that, is that like fundamental foundational footwork in order to do techniques, in order to protect yourself, or is there something else needed in there in order to kind of connect it, kind of bridge that gap? Because a lot of what you guys have said is that these are really good for that.
Yeah.
Is that
I mean,
the only
for
thing that we can
me-
do, or is that, as opposed to like other systems that will be like Nahachi first, Seisan first, Takioka's first,
I think
America first.
America. I think I like to use these for the reason that I use them. But if I were, if somebody said, Dan, you're no longer allowed to teach these forms. You have to start with Naihanchi. I would figure out a reason to start with Naihanchi, and I would build a curriculum around that. Like my curriculum right now has the 3 basic forms teaching footwork, and then the Pyongan forms introducing principles and different kinds of footwork. And then when I go to do Pasai, it's easy for me to go, okay, go here and land in this Kyochit Jase, this cross-legged position, and then spin in place and go here. Like it's easy for me to take somebody to do that because they've already done it like 5 times already in the Pyongan forms. So if somebody said, Dan, you're no longer allowed to do that, you have to start with Naihanchi, I would go, okay, what does Naihanchi teach and how can I put that in a fundamental place in the curriculum, and how can I stack forms after that? I may have to move forms around depending on what I would want to teach, but then that's it. So, curriculum is built stacked. So stack them however you'd like.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
my view anyway.
Yeah, I think it also just is sort of can depend on the teacher and sort of the intent of the instruction, right? So to your point there, John, I see some people who would say, well, if there are definitely people who do the kata, but they're not doing the kata because they're trying to learn anything practical out of it, like footwork or even application. It's part of the curriculum, it's part of tradition, so we do it. But they get all their footwork training and stuff when they do their sparring. It's all sort of they're not related. Whereas Dan is saying he incorporates the footwork into the kata. It's part of the curriculum, and so that sort of meets that need, in the kata. But I think there's definitely people who would say, well, no, the kata does not teach you footwork. It's footwork should be about your sparring and how you're moving around and transitioning that way. And so we have drills for that, and we're going to put you in front of a makiwara or a bag or a person and have you move around with another person, because kata is not going to teach you footwork. So yeah, it really just depends on your perspective and your how you approach your training, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it's like any toolbox that you get. There's lots of different kinds of tools in there, and if you don't use a specific tool, or you don't ever need to use a specific tool, then you're not going to use it, and you don't even need it. So get a smaller toolbox, or get a bigger toolbox if you need a bigger toolbox. Like, forms for me, again, they're not something that I need to have students do all the time in class. They're something that they need to do at home to practice these things.
Yeah.
And so, like, we talk a lot about congruent curriculum or comprehensive curriculum. So I know that one of the big buzzwords now is 3K karate. And you don't want to do 3K karate. Like, I know that Abernathy uses that term, and I have a lot of people contact me and want to join my association, and they go, do you guys do 3K karate? And I'm like, hey, okay.
Is this a way of not saying the other thing that like where people wear different kinds of white in different places?
No, it's like, so it's Kion, Kata, Kumite.
Right.
And
Yeah.
if you do karate and they are separate and they don't inform each other, this is what they call 3K karate.
Yep.
So the way that my curriculum is structured, and probably Sal's, because I just know you well enough now, your kata and your kion and your kumite all teach the same stuff.
Yes.
And so they intermingle. And and this is what I like to call comprehensive or congruent curriculum. So when I do partner drills, the partner drills utilize the principles in the kata, in the kion, and when you do sparring, like the way that we spar, we don't do point sparring, right? So like you're grabbing and you're pulling and you're sweeping and you're elbowing and you're I'll even allow headbutts if you really have a good one in there. You're kneeing. I mean, like all of the stuff in the form and that you do in the partner drills, you can then do live, and they support each other. They reinforce each other.
Yeah.
So there's no separation there. So when I talk about footwork, you're right. Like there are some people that the form over here, like who's going to do a low block in sparring? Nobody. But I'm going to do an arm drag in sparring a lot. And that's just, it's the same. It's the same exact functionality. Or, so I think that when I look, if we look at these basic forms, they're going to introduce these concepts in a very fundamental way, so that you can build on them. Footwork is one of them.
Yeah, because I mean, you'll see the typical argument online where people say, "Well, I never use those kata movements in sparring, so I'm not going to do the kata." Like, yeah. I mean, if you're doing point sparring where grabbing's not allowed and throwing's not allowed, and it's just in and out, I hit, you hit, we take turns. Like, yeah, you're not going to do a lot of techniques in sparring. You're not going to do a lot of techniques that you'd find in kata. But if you're doing, something like Dan's approach there, where you're allowing more in close fighting, grappling, throwing, locking, you're going to be doing all kinds of stuff. And that's sort of the same approach we do. I just say we do randori. That's kind of what I call it. But yeah, we don't really I don't teach point sparring or anything like that. I was never taught it. So yeah, it's everything the kata has to inform the rest of your practice. Now, certainly when I started under my sensei, everything was separate. We had our kata, we had our kihon, we had every belt level had like 3 sets of self-defense techniques, which were very practical techniques, but they weren't drawn. They didn't come from the kata at all. All 3 of these things were very separate. They didn't inform or support each other in any way. And then gradually over time, just as I sort of developed my own practice and understanding of karate, I sort of incorporated everything to say, no, self-defense should come from your kata, or kata should inform everything. And as Dan said, yeah, your kata should be something that the student practices at home. I always tell students, they'll come in and say, can we run through such and such kata because I'm having trouble remembering it? I said, okay, well, we can do that. But if you're going to walk out of here and still forget everything we just did, like, I'm happy to run through this kata 10 times in this class, but that's not going to help you remember the kata. You have to find sort of what works for you for remembering the movements, because everybody learns and remembers things differently. As we said earlier, some people can look at a kata once and like, yep, got it down. And other people, it takes more time. So I'm more the approach of, let's talk about what you're doing with those movements, so that helps you remember why you're making the movements and not sort of what direction you need to go.
Hold on, I want to imitate a meme. I want the Leo whiskey cigarette meme. With that one. No, because that's exactly right. Well, and like and Sal, that also is like shows us the one of the issues with karate in its own, where it's like people are spending all this time remembering a form, all this time like doing memory work, which is not martial arts.
Right.
That's like memory work for a dance even. And this is why you get like the Joe Rogan experience, like poo-pooing it, because that's what it a lot of the time fundamentally comes down to, and how people have taught it. And I think probably the last 40 years of its proliferation.
Yeah, that's why most people when they tell me forms are useless, and I just go, yeah, you're right,
Yeah, by themselves, sure.
because I know that they are the way most people do them, and I'm not going to disagree with you because you are absolutely right.
So can
Yeah,
we
we have over 56 traditional weapons kata in our Kobudo syllabus. Like, if you think I can remember all those damn, no, not at all. Like, I have a couple that are I consider mine that I continue to practice, but we spend most of our time in class on the application of those movements with the weapons, and the students work on the katas on their own. And yeah, it's less about them remembering the movements and more about understanding the principles and concepts that are in them than anything else.
I feel we've had a really good discussion, but we've kind of like sidestepped the whole Pinan-Heian Pyong fight, which I think we're just kind of like, we're like, this isn't an argument. All right.
I think we've said they're both valuable
Right.
depending on your approach, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Call them whatever you want.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Have that awkward beginning of Pinan Nidan or not, it doesn't matter. I for one feel like because the issue I've had to deal with is the constant shifting on stuff to move a goalpost for no reason. And it hasn't,
like in logically argumenting.
No, not even an argumentation. Just literally how the forms are made. And
okay.
It took a lot to be like, oh, these people are just are leading me on. And then so I literally stripped away a lot of what they were saying. It's like, all right, see how they did this in like 1984 or whatever. All right, that's fine. Then like I don't need to have an argument about like how it's done. Just do it. And then like you can add in the ideas later, or add in the fixes later or whatever. And like take the like good parts of what's been learned. But essentially, that's Sal and Dan, you guys both hit pretty well. It's like you have what you want and you have what you need, and you kind of can go on from there. Like, that was like the one main problem I was having, and I think a lot of other people who train around where I was training was like you keep on changing it and keep on acting like this one little change is the biggest thing in the world, and then forget it the next 6 months. You're just leading people on.
Or like the way I grew up. Oh, this is a new change. This is a new change every month. New change every month to some form. But what we do is authentic. Not if you keep changing it. You can't choose one or the other.
That's always been the one benefit of our karate is, like I said, we're not part of any organization. So, I talk about, I anecdotally share stuff like that a lot with my students because they don't really know what it's like to be part of a bigger organization. So I talk about stuff like, they'll say, well, nope, they're starting next month. We're doing this movement this way, or we're changing this stance or something. And we teach Iaido in our dojo as well. And they are part of the United States Kendo Federation. And they have to deal with that stuff sometimes.
So they have to do the sete kata.
Yeah, I hear them say, "Oh, yeah, they're making a change to sete kata," or "Oh, yeah, the Canadians they're changing something to this kata." I'm like, "Oh, wow, interesting." I'm like, I don't know what that's like because nobody does that. Like, I will make adjustments to my kata based on my personal preference. It doesn't necessarily mean I'll change how I teach it, but I will, because I have a smaller student base. I will make space for students to adjust kata based on their capabilities. If I've got someone who's older, bad knees or something like that, I'm not going to put an expectation on them that they have this really low, deep stance. I want them to be able to make the form work for themselves. And so, it'd be unfair of me to say, no, the organization says you must kick head height for this side snap kick. Like, no, my God, no, please don't do that. Don't hurt yourself.
I remember I had to tell somebody to do that before they were one of the worst symptoms of the organization problem was someone had me come and tell their students to do something one way because even though they were higher ranked, they were more experienced, they had more everything than me. They were like, yeah, but you're closer to what the organization wants. And I was like, what? But you're like 10 years older than me and like have been doing martial arts longer. You can't, what? Okay. And so like I had to tell somebody who knee problems, like health issues, and was like, you don't need to bend down that far. Like, actually do the test. Don't destroy yourself for one move that isn't gonna matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Organizations.
our Iaido sensei, he's in his 60s or 70s. He can't go into seiza. He can't go down onto his knees. So he can't do any of he does all of the seiza kata, sword kata that you do from seiza. He does them from standing. And he's had some senseis who are like, no, then you can't study here. Like we will not tolerate that. You have to be able to go down in seiza. And then, he's been fortunate now. He works with a group out of Canada. They're very understanding, and they have a lot of people with different physical limitations. I think they have a sensei who has just one leg, and he does amazing sword kata. So it's really great to see when there's that kind of flexibility for students, and not just this demand like, nope, if you can't meet our organizational standards, then you're not worthy.
Mhm.
But
Mm-hmm.
now we've gotten into a tangent on organizations, but
Yeah,
well, but that goes to curriculum.
Sure.
Right, and like we were talking about curriculum, and like there's a difference between teaching a curriculum to teach a curriculum versus teaching a curriculum to create what the curriculum teaches. So I think a lot of karate people teach just to teach a thing. They're not really teaching to create a thing, or they may think they're teaching to create a thing, but they don't know how to. So
Right.
the only way that they think they're going to create a martial artist is by making you do this curriculum, and it has to be done because that's how they did it. And they were, yeah, exactly. It's the magical soup.
Yeah.
You have to do this exact. If you don't, then you won't become like me.
Yep.
And it's like, I don't want to become like you. I'm not you.
Right.
I want to become like me. I want to become a martial artist. And I think that I mean, how many karate people just teach just to teach?
Right.
I mean, it's very normal, and it's normal in all sorts of life, right?
Yep.
I mean, I think people teach music just to teach music because they enjoy it. They like teaching. They don't really their goal is not to create a master musician, but it's just to teach and share what they know.
Yeah.
So you're saying we should be more like Whiplash than we should be like I don't know, Mr. Holland's Opus.
I love that movie.
What,
oh
Mr.
my
Holland's
gosh!
Opus?
Yes, it's so good.
So, but we shouldn't be like Whiplash, like literally
I
trying
don't know.
to.
I don't know who Whiplash is. Who's Whiplash?
I haven't seen it, but I've seen the clip about where he's going after the drummer guy.
Yeah, he's running across. It's like nobody ever got anywhere by saying "good job."
Yeah.
Yeah, there's. I think we can kind of look at the end of this and just say, I think you guys brought it up really well, saying the triple K karate or whatever, the curriculum Kihon and kata being, or the Kihon, kata and kumite being separate, is I think ultimately the wrong approach and probably wasn't initially meant to be that way. It just kind of became that way. More do with a double C, whereas like, yeah, curriculum congruent, right? Everything a congruent curriculum. Everything flows together.
Yeah.
Because I think that's probably what Itosu was going with the Pinans, and
I think so.
He probably didn't think a bunch of guys would get on Zoom 100 years later and be like, let's debate that. Let's have an ironic debate about this.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that he knew what he wanted to create. He wrote a big letter, about what he wanted, karate to create, and he put that into action. He created a curriculum to do so. Whether or not that was, it was drastically different than the curriculum beforehand. But he forged his own path, and I think he did a pretty good job.
Yep.
Or else we wouldn't be here talking about it primarily. At least Sal and I wouldn't.
I would probably be like online, but I would be like trying to sell like karate NFTs. Which is not ever going to happen. It's not a thing, kids. Save your money.
My son told me the other day. He was like, I saw on I don't know if it was on YouTube or wherever, Instagram or whatever, or TikTok, where somebody was like, they shared a screenshot. Look, I just bought this NFT, and then somebody screenshot it and goes, "Me too."
Yeah, I haven't. I'm aware of these things, these NFT. I don't know what they are, and I don't care to learn. I'm getting to where I just can't keep up. Maybe I'm just getting old. But yeah.
Them young whippersnappers, get off my lawn with your TFNs. What is this? Fungus. Non-fungus. Get your fungus off my lawn.
Get out of here with your Bitcoins and your cryptocurrency.
Blockchains.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you guys after the fact who asked me about this later. But on that note, my friends, what is training going to look like for you guys this week?
Hopefully it'll actually happen, because we were snowed in most of the week, and I was definitely feeling it this morning when I went to yoga class. And I was like, my God, I missed a week of yoga, which never happens. So yeah, just looking forward to getting back to a regular schedule. And I've got 2 brand new students who've joined. So excited to have some new blood in the dojo and set them on the path.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
It won't be first blood. It'll just be new blood.
Yep.
Right on.
And I don't know. To be honest, the last few weeks have been kind of who's going to show up, what's going on. Like, I didn't really make a plan. And this week on Saturday, I'm going to be doing a sword demonstration at one of the local museums. So I'll probably be focusing more on that rather than the karate. But you know, it's just one of those things about my curriculum is I don't have to really worry about it. The curriculum is there.
Yep.
I can just, whoever shows up and I can go, oh, well, we need to work on this. Easy peasy.
Yep. We've done some museum demonstrations, been a while, but you know, definitely pre-pandemic, and that's the sort of thing like, what should we plan? Should we plan a demo? I'm like, let's get out there and do a kata, man. I mean, they're not going to know. Like, it's gonna look, whatever we do is going to look cool to them.
Just make sure it ends here and he goes, yeah, it's fine.
Yep.
Jump up in the air and scream. Yeah, I
do that. There's a sword kata. It's called Nukitsuke no Ken from the Katori Shintoryu. And I do it's a lot of fun. It's my favorite.
Do you make those sound effects while you're doing it?
It's more like not those sound effects, but you do need to be loud and have good ki.
Okay.
Loud and proud and have good ki.
I can definitely get behind that to a degree. I have been having something of a winter of the soul with martial arts, where it's just like having a large inability to do it, mainly because of like space and location. But I have to kind of push myself to deal with the elements a little. But once I push to kind of just get over the fact it's going to be in a cold room, I just start heating up and doing it. I failed at that last week, and I think I'm going to try to not fail at that this week. So that's where I'm at. So
well, I mean, you know what they say, the secret is hard work.
Definitely. Hopefully, no Unicron virus or whatever will stop us from getting there. So cool, guys. Well, I'm glad we got you guys. We got the gang back together finally after so long, and
yeah, it's fun.
I didn't drop the ball on missing the appointment. So yeah, that's great.
You didn't drop the ball. You just gave Dan the room to talk about his fights on Facebook, and for us to talk about Facebook dads.
Facebook dad. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. Well, we're none of us are on TikTok. Wait, is anybody not here on TikTok?
I do have a TikTok. I made one for my calligraphy, and I've let it fall to the wayside. It's exhausting.
Okay.
I like Instagram. Instagram is my favorite platform.
Yeah, same here. I really want to delete my Facebook. I only keep it around because it's like I get some inquiries about the dojo there. It's just the dojo account, really. I don't have a personal Facebook.
Mhm.
But I definitely just enjoy just Instagram because there's no politics. It's just I can sort of see the stuff that I'm interested in. There's no arguing on there, and yeah,
You can't share articles, so I don't need to read what you're sharing, right?
They would
It's
have to
just
screen cap it and throw it up there. So
right.
I think Facebook kind of realized like they needed to do something that wasn't like angry like dads yelling at each other.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know. I'm just
Yeah,
looking
like
forward to
Facebook.
them falling apart again and having
Facebook
people on MySpace.
is like, if you're in traffic, like rush hour traffic, and you're looking at everybody's bumper stickers. That's Facebook. And then every once in a while, you may bump into the person and they get out and start screaming at you. And then you have to have some sort of argument with this person. Like that's Facebook. It's so annoying.
yeah.
But Instagram is like, uh, like, hey, do you want to see everybody's beautiful photo journal from their vacations? Yes, please.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see.
Yeah, I'm usually just looking at karate, mace stuff, or cute dogs. That's pretty much all I look at on Instagram. Yeah.
Oh, and there's so many great like I follow a bunch of knife makers and like circus performers and skateboarders and like just like Instagram is basically like look at all the cool stuff that exists in the world.
I'm not sharing what my searches are. Right.
And Facebook is just let's talk about all the crap and hate in the world, and
yeah.
Instagram is more positive.
I miss LiveJournal, to be honest. But
LiveJournal, like where would you get that? Where would you need
There's
that fixed?
something from-
LinkedIn, maybe?
oh God, no. Okay.
Yeah,
Dan,
I
you
don't
just
know.
you hit the nerve.
I don't even know. Yeah, I don't even know how you would get that fixed.
LinkedIn, my mortal enemy. Come at me, LinkedIn. Help me find a job. Oh, right, you haven't. All right, guys. Well, thank you guys so much for being on. Sal, where can people find you? On Instagram?
Yep, on Instagram, Steel Mace Karate. I should come up if you look for that at least. So
you have a thing going on.
Yeah,
that's right.
Your seminar.
Bujin TV doing a live seminar on the 19th at 6 p.m. Central. Going to do steel mace workout, more of a karate focused one. I'm still kind of working on the syllabus for that. I don't really plan workouts and I don't really plan my lessons or what I'm going to teach. So, when I do one of these things, it's kind of hard. I kind of stress about what I'm going to cover and then I end up just winging it anyway. But I'm going to try just cover a variety of ways that the mace can enhance just different aspects of your karate or any martial art practice really. So yeah, that's coming up on the 19th.
Go to that. Zoom into it. Work into it. Whatever.
Does it cost anything, Sal?
I think it's 20. Yeah.
20?
Yep.
Cool.
20 portions.
20 portions.
Dan, where can people find you and your multiple personalities of Instagram?
Yes, my multiple personalities. So you could find me just at Dan.Bernardo. You could find me at Well Within Martial Arts, or you could find me at Martial Calligrapher. Either one of those.
You don't have anything coming up right now, other than like doing a demo. But
no, and I'm not going to live stream that. That'd be cool. Maybe I should. But yeah. No, I don't have anything coming up. I do. I will be trying to do something in the next few months with Bujin TV, but nothing planned yet.
Nice. I got my stamp, by the way. Thank you. It came today.
Oh, good. Yeah,
Ooh.
It's funny. I mean, like, and you can edit this out, John, if you like, but
editing? No.
Yeah, the post
That's why
office.
I do this. I don't feel
I got the box back with this thing that said, there was an issue with the box, and the box was smashed.
Oh,
So
wow.
I think the issue was the post office destroyed my box.
Oh,
That's
geez.
what happens when you don't pay people a living wage.
Well, the box was in very good condition when it arrived. So thank you, sir.
Good.
Awesome. We've solved world hunger and box issues and the pinions. all-in-one podcast. So fantastic, folks.
Congratulations, gentlemen.
Thank you so much for being on, and yeah, hopefully we get to do this again before too long. But
Absolutely. Always,
definitely.
always happy to do it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
And I am going to end the recording in 3, 2,